My name is Taylor Halverson.
And I'm Tyler Griffin.
We both work at BYU, and our jobs are focused on helping empower people through learning. I work at the Center for Teaching and Learning.
And I work in the Department of Ancient Scripture.
And what we're going to be talking about this year, the Come Follow Me Book of Mormon curriculum, is incredible insights from the Book of Mormon. And today we're going to be talking about the title page. So you were talking to me about this before. What would you say is a summary of those two paragraphs there?
So when you look at a title page, you're trying to answer questions, right? You're trying to figure out, what is this book? Who is it about? When, where, how, why? All of those questions are supposedly answered on a title page of a book. In verse 1, you'll notice the answer to a lot of the questions like who, what, when, where, how. And in paragraph 2 or verse 2, you're going to find multiple reasons answering why. Why do I need another testament of Jesus Christ when I already have the Old and the New Testament?
What I love about the title page is its focus on the covenants, that the Book of Mormon came forth to teach us about the covenants of the Lord. And we've heard a lot from President Nelson and other church leaders that we're all on this covenant path. And the Book of Mormon was revealed for our day to help reveal the covenant path. And what are those covenants? Well, let's just step back for a moment and remember the Old Testament and the book of Genesis. The purpose of what was going on in the book of Genesis is to lay out the foundation for God's covenants with his people. If you remember Abraham's story, right, we have Abraham who gets this opportunity from God. God basically shows up and says, Abraham, I'm going to do these things for you. I'm going to make your name great. I'm going to give you posterity. And we also learn the pearl of great price. I'm also going to give you priesthood. And throughout the whole Abraham story, Abraham goes through a variety of adventures or tests where he tries to demonstrate that God will be faithful to the covenant he made. And this is the interesting thing. When you look closely at the Abrahamic covenant, God himself has put himself under obligation to fulfill this covenant to Abraham. Abraham definitely needs to be faithful, but it's actually God's duty to make sure the covenant is granted to Abraham and his posterity. And if you look at this in the second paragraph here of the title page, there's this interesting phrase that I'd wondered about for some time. It says that they may know the covenants of the Lord, that they are not cast off forever. Well, it's kind of interesting. Why is this going to the Lamanites and eventually to the Jews and the Gentiles? But why is there this phrase that they're not cast off forever? Is because God is under obligation to make the covenant available to the children of Abraham, and that includes the Lamanites.
It's interesting that these words coming to us, that he's trying to help us know that we are not cast off forever. Coming from Moroni, those words mean a lot more than coming from any other prophet, possibly in the history of the world. Yeah. Because this guy has watched his whole nation implode and be destroyed. He's watched his family be killed. He's lost everything that we would hold near and dear as far as our culture and our society and our government. And he's been wandering for somewhere between 20 to 36 years, somewhere in that time frame. If anyone could feel cast off, forsaken, forgotten, left alone, it's Moroni. And yet that's one of the purposes for this book that he puts on the title page. You've got to know that God keeps his covenants. He's not going to forget you, even if you feel all alone for a very long period of time. That's just sweet to me.
Yeah, God's faithful. And you should think to yourself, if you feel cast off, if you feel like you're out of God's presence, the Book of Mormon is a witness that you can be brought back in, that God will be faithful to his covenants, that he wants you at the table.
Now, if you look carefully at all of the reasons why Moroni gives you that we have the Book of Mormon, he starts with, to show unto the remnant of the house of Israel what great things the Lord hath done for their fathers. So he wants us remembering how kind he's been to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all down through time. Remember that you're not cast off forever, and also to the convincing of the Jew and the Gentile that Jesus is the Christ, the eternal God, and that he manifests himself unto all nations. Now, we generally stop there, but for me, one of the most important purposes for why the Book of Mormon means so much to me, the bottom line is literally the bottom line, that ye may be found spotless at the judgment seat of Christ. For me, that's the power of this book, is all of these purposes help me in my mind and in my heart get aligned with God. But as that happens, Jesus is perfecting us. He's working with us. He's polishing us so that someday when we stand before his judgment seat, through his merits, his mercy, and his grace alone, we have the capacity to stand there spotless.
So as we continue to do these videos, we'll keep returning to the themes of the title page. Moreau and I wrote this to focus our attention, focus on why the Book of Mormon was written for our day. And so as we go throughout these videos and go through the Come Follow Me curriculum, we're going to talk about each of these core principles and how everything in the Book of Mormon focuses on Jesus Christ. It invites us to think, how are we inviting Jesus Christ into our lives? Or more importantly, how are we accepting the invitation to have Jesus in our lives?